Laquer of Soltar Solutions, and I'm here today with another episode of Focus Forward. And first of all, before we jump in, I want to talk a little bit about Dan Kennedy. He is a favorite of mine. I follow him. I have a lot of his materials and books at home. But today I'd like to talk a little bit about the ultimate sales letter. If you're writing sales letters, you absolutely need this book. Dan Kennedy is one of the world famous sales letter writers. And when he writes a letter, believe me, people respond. So get this letter. He really delves down and gives you the information on exactly how it's done. So this is a great book. Every business owner should be using this. So now, I am really excited to be introducing my guest today. We have Jason Swenk here from Payscape Advisors. And this guy is so interesting. He's going to give us so much information. One of the things that we're going to talk about during the show is how Jason went to selling his company and then moved forward to another company. And then, are you ready for this? Created an app. I mean, this guy is it. So, Jason, why don't you come in and tell us exactly what it is that's going on. Tell us what you do at Payscape.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you allowing me on the show. And at Payscape, I'm in charge of the innovation process and developing strategies for a number of different products that we have that help small businesses actually get paid quicker and also save time.
So, what kind of products are those? What kind of things do you create?
Yeah. So one of the products we have is called Billing Orchard. It's an online invoicing system. And so when I was running my company at Solar Velocity, we were using a number of different products to try to get our clients to pay. And getting paid was always a constant struggle and trying to automate it, right? And so what this product does is automates your collections process from sending out invoices every month to even the collections process from automating overdue notices, letting them know that their credit cards are about to expire. So the business owner can actually concentrate on running their business and picking a right direction versus just worrying about cash flow, which every business owner worries about.
Yeah, a lot of time is spent worrying about cash flow, and sometimes I think that it just takes time away from actually moving the business forward. So exactly how do you go about doing that? How do those products work?
Yeah, so it's all online. So all the systems are in the cloud. And what we really concentrate on is what's the main pain of all our clients out there from getting paid, and how do we automate that? And so what we have to do is look at their day-to-day operations and how do we make it easier for their clients to pay them? Because the easier you make it for your clients to pay you, the quicker that you're going to get paid. Mm-hmm. And so we look at that overall process and we try to map that out. And then we design a killer system, which we have, that gets people paid 3 times faster.
Wow. So are you creating like individual systems for your clients? Is that what I'm getting out of this?
Yeah, correct. So we look at just kind of the problem, the cash flow management, and then we look at tools that allow them to get paid quicker, whether it be a mechanism for accepting credit cards, to invoicing, to a system that they can connect all their systems together in order to get paid quicker.
Wow, that sounds really fascinating. So it sounds like it takes a lot of the not only the guesswork, but also a lot of the time that people spend focusing on, did that come in, did this go here, did this, the maneuvering of the money, which every business owner is doing practically constantly.
Oh, exactly. I mean, that was the biggest struggle is, trying to project out, can I hire the next employee? Can I afford to invest in another building? How much money do I have coming in? And so that's really what we're trying to solve here. And there's a number of different systems out there that solve this as well, but we're trying to deliver, the best product that solves that ultimate problem that they have.
Well, that sounds really interesting. So is it like you partner with the companies, getting to know the companies that you're working with, and then you help them to determine if, in fact, they could afford that extra employee, and the next part of that is how they can go about maybe adjusting their system so they can take on that next employee. Does that sound right?
Correct. That's exactly correct. I mean, we partner with all our clients. We understand their business. We try to figure out, all right, what's your main pain point? And then how do we solve that? And then we'll recommend different products or solutions for them in order to increase their cash flow. And then give them, then they'll have the ability to look at reports and say, okay, I have this much coming in the next quarter. Great. This is how much my expenses are. Okay. Now I can make that more informed decision rather than, I know when I first started my business 12 years ago, there was a lot of guesswork. There wasn't that many tools out there that would allow you to kind of try to predict what you have coming in. And now this system actually, we're trying to do that with this.
Well, the interesting thing I think is most small business owners are a little bit in the dark. They don't know exactly how the cash is flowing in. They know that they need the money. Yes, I need that check and I need that check now, or those receivables. But often I think people are in almost like a fog about it. And there's no way to predict the future growth of their company because they don't have a handle on the now. So getting these reports, it sounds like you create the reports so people can actually see right in front of them exactly how their cash is flowing in and also where that money is going.
That's correct. The biggest, you could ask about 95% of people that actually start businesses, and probably all of them would say, I didn't get into business just to invoice or worry about cash flow or get collected from clients. They got into business because they loved running a sports camp. They got into business because they loved designing websites or whatever the business is. And so what we're trying to do is ease that pain and give them a couple different tools that they can automate.
So what a great asset for a business to have. I mean, this is amazing because if you can take that particular chunk, which is huge for businesses, and kind of, I don't want to say hand that over, but kind of allow someone else that is bonded and you can trust and that corporate identity or entity to help with that, that frees you up to do the things you love. Because most people in their business are not doing the things they love. Most people are not. They're trapped with all those things that they don't really like doing. Yep. So that's it exactly.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, our main goal is for them not to log into the system every day. We want the system to do all the automation for them and then log in anytime they need to understand a report or do future projections. That's our ultimate goal.
The other thing is that I've noticed with clients is they believe that the success of their business is dependent on how much money they bring in. And that is part of it, but in reality, that is not the true story. I think the true story is how much they're able to hold on to after the money goes out. Because a lot of, I'm doing much better in my business. I have doubled my business. But if you've tripled or quadrupled your expenses, you're basically further in the hole.
Yeah, that's what I learned in the very beginning. It's all about scalability, right? So, like you're saying, the more revenue you have coming in, probably the more expenses you have. But over time, if you can create a scalable product or a scalable business, then your revenue can keep going up, but your expenses just go up at a slightly lower level. So now you have that scalability.
So now I'm going to ask you, I really have a good understanding, and I think our audience does as well, about that. I have a question. Do you, by any chance, help small business owners maybe to get funding for projects?
We do. So one of the things that we're actually building right now is a tool where when you actually send out an invoice, our product will actually pay you the next day.
Okay.
And so then we'll actually do the collections from your clients. So that just helps them out even more. I remember sending invoices out to a number of different big clients, for a very large chunk. And then they would actually pay us over 60, 120 days, which now I'm actually, basically giving these big companies a huge loan. And so really we identified that problem in the industry and we really want to solve that.
Oh, that can make a huge difference in companies, absolutely. So, right now it's very, very difficult to get a loan from a bank for a small business. I mean, I think it's probably a little bit easier winning the lottery than it is to get a loan. But in looking at that, if you can predict, I think the most important thing is the predictability of the cash flow, because that expecting that money to come in, you have your payroll, you have met all of your expenses that you have to take care of. Being able to predict that money coming in is really important.
Yeah, it takes out the guesswork.
Takes out the guesswork.
When you start guessing, that's kind of when you know you actually need to do something different.
Right, exactly, exactly. Well, I could see how this would be something that would be very valuable for a business. What is your sweet spot of your target market? Where do most of your clients fall?
Small businesses, ranging from the mom and pop shops all the way up to probably a couple million. That is our sweet spot. From technology providers, business services, to really anybody that wants to get paid quicker and just save time or automate their business. That is our target market.
Oh, great, great. All right, so that sounds really interesting. There's something else I'd like to talk about for a second. You had another business that you sold, and that business was Solar Velocity. So can you tell me a little bit about that business and what the process of selling it was?
Yeah, so Solar Velocity was an interactive agency. So I had it for 12 years. Basically, when we started it up, it was a web design shop. And then we grew into offering a lot of other services ranging from marketing to technology, web development. And the process of selling it, I always had that vision of selling it just like every business owner and getting rewarded for your efforts. But when you actually start going through that process, it's very emotional because you've built this thing up, it's your baby, and then you're going to let it go. And then you're always second guessing yourself going, did I do the right thing? And I'm happy to say I did do the right thing. I'm in a fantastic place. It was a great experience. I've learned from everything that I've done from with Solar Velocity and the selling process, and really understand it very well.
So now, after it's really interesting that you say that most business owners think about selling their company, because I meet a lot of business owners that never think about selling their company. They never think about the value of their company. They have no understanding of that. And I ask them the question, well, have you thought about an exit strategy? And they're like, no, I never really thought about that. Well, what are you going to do? Well, I don't really know. I haven't thought that far. What about selling the company? Selling the company. Now that's an idea. And then positioning those businesses. So one of the questions I have for you about that is, after you sold the business, did you stay on in that business?
I did. I stayed on for the required amount. It was an experience in itself. Probably one of the best things I learned from that is, if you hire the right people, you don't have to worry about motivating them. You just have to worry about demotivating them. And that's probably the experience that I had when I went over there. I was probably the highest paid meeting coordinator you've ever met.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. So most of the people that actually every person that I've talked to that has sold a business and stayed on, they could not wait for that contract to be over and them to be free. So I'm not saying that's you, okay? But that seems to be the common denominator, the common story that I hear. And I think a lot of that is because, as you mentioned, you're building your business over a period of years. You really have this emotional attachment. It's kind of like your child. And then here you are, you're releasing it to someone else, and they're doing everything differently and not listening, So. Yeah. So how did you feel? Was that very emotional, that part of it?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was just a bunch of things that I didn't agree with, and really had no control. And I think the biggest thing of why all the business owners actually that have sold their business actually say that, is because they don't have control anymore. And it's, but then again, you look at the position I'm at now, I'm having the time of my life. I love it. And, I have 2 bosses. We work for the company's over 200 people, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And as soon as I sell any of these other businesses that I'm doing, I'm still going to stick here. It's not all about money. It's about loving what you do. And I think if that opportunity of the company that bought Solar Velocity, if it was the right opportunity like it is here, I would still be there, and it would be a totally different answer.
Right. Right, exactly. Well, I'm glad that you're having so much fun. Now you're in Atlanta, and where's the other office?
So we have offices all over the country. So we have offices in Birmingham, Alabama. We have Cleveland, Charleston, Nashville. I'm leaving out. We probably have 10 offices all over the country.
Wow, cool. And do you do business also outside the U.S.?
Just in the U.S. for right now.
Just in the U.S. for now. Okay, I need to switch gears because there's something I really am curious about. You created an app. I really have to know all about it. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so it's an app that you take photos of everything that you eat, and it's designed around reconditioning how you think of certain foods. So basically, I came up with this because I used to get huge migraines all the time, and I kept going to doctors, and they kept prescribing me medicine. I kept saying, you know, there's got to be a better way. And so I actually started tracking all the food that I ate. And so in doing that, you know, I'm very visual. Obviously, that's why I started a web design and a marketing shop. And so I thought, you know, why don't I create an app that can take photos of everything that I eat? And then I can look back when I have a migraine and then actually find that source. And so that's the intent around Golvator.
Wow, that's incredible. Did you ever find out what was triggering the migraines?
Yeah, it was highly processed foods and, you know, like donuts and Hot Pockets, you know, all the stuff that I shouldn't be eating. And so when I noticed that, I actually recondition it. So, you know, how the app works is as you're taking photos and a couple hours later, it will actually tell you, how are you feeling? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Are you feeling excited, energetic? So it has positive and negatives, and that overlays on the photos. And then you can actually share those photos with your friends. So it does a couple things, right? So you can actually look at this visual and say, you know, oh, wow, I have a migraine. I'm going to hit uncomfortable. And then now I can associate Hot Pockets and bagels and McDonald's all to pain. And so over time, rather than just setting out to lose a goal for losing weight, now I know which foods makes me feel better.
That is incredible. My mother-in-law suffered for years and years and years with migraines. Terrible. She'd be 5 days in bed. It was horrible. She went all over to, you know, to different doctors, kind of like your story. They gave her meds. The meds didn't work. You know what she ended up finding out? Tomatoes.
Really? Oh, wow.
Anytime she ate anything with tomatoes, she would get these migraines. So that you would never think that that would happen, but that's, you know, but having that little, you know, being able to just take those pictures and then log in how you feel, I mean, that's huge. That's great.
And it's all about accountability, right? So you think about with any goal that you set, if you set a goal or if you tell your friends you're going to do something for them versus if you tell yourself you're going to do something, most likely you're going to do it for your friends and not yourself. And so that's why we actually, you know, brought in kind of the social piece. So all your friends actually see what you're doing. They see your goal. They see your action plan that you're laying out, as well as seeing your photos. So then now they can comment and say, well, if your goal is really to lose weight or feel better, should you have eaten that Big Mac or those extra fries or that shake? And so it starts holding yourself accountable because you know other people are watching.
Exactly. Well, you also have that right in front of you. I mean, that's scary when you look at some of the things. You're like, whoa, did I really eat that? That's not good. Yeah, so that's really great. So where does somebody get that app?
It's free on iTunes. They can go to our website, golvator.com, and it's spelled like goal and motivator put together. That's how we came up with the name. They can go to iTunes and just type in Golvator or you know, food tracking photos, whatever they think they can type in. We're starting to come up, but we launched it 4 weeks ago, and it's really pretty cool watching people respond to us and saying, you know, we're trying to lose 100 pounds. It's already making a difference in our lives. And, you know, success of the app is all around people using it and people actually achieving their goals and just feeling better. And I think if everyone tried to do something to help out, you know, one or two or a couple thousand, the world would be a lot better.
Absolutely. Wow, that's incredible. So that's a free app. You just go to iTunes, you can download it. Well, that's wonderful. That's great. So I hope everybody goes and does that. So now I have a question. What's next for you?
I'm going to continue to keep innovating at Payscape and creating the next best products to help people with cash flow. And then see where the GoalVader thing takes us to. See how we can break that off and apply it to other goal setting rather than just kind of feeling better or wellness. Because I really think the world is visual. So how do we give them more visualizations in order to change their behaviors?
Yes, that's absolutely true. I think it's increasingly becoming more visual. I think before we did rely on it, but we would also take in more different types of information. But now I think it's really much as our world speeds up more and more, I think it's very important that we feed that visual and be able to understand how we can utilize that to take in information maybe more succinctly.
Yep, exactly.
So, so just what tips could you give to business owners that might be interested in positioning their companies for sale?
Sure. The biggest thing is doing a product that actually solves a problem. That's probably the biggest thing. If you can figure out a problem in the marketplace that not many other people are solving, and you can do a very good job, you're going to position yourself in a very good light in order to sell your company. If that's an ultimate goal, some business owners just want to, get a nice income from the business and then retire over a couple years. People are scared to sell in it sometimes.
Okay, so that's one.
Two would be kind of jumping levels. One analogy I heard about that in the past was ice harvesters. So in the 1800s, or probably before then, we used to harvest ice. And then a couple hundred years later, we actually developed ice factories. So now people in the South, like in Atlanta or Florida, could actually get ice versus where you guys are. And then, probably in the 1950s, the refrigerator came out. And so that's about jumping levels. So the ice harvester should have jumped a level to the ice factory. So it's not just about making your product better or doing the same thing. It's about figuring out what next thing can we provide by everything that we learned here. And so that's what I call as kind of jumping levels.
It's fascinating that you should mention ice. I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to go to Williamsburg, Virginia, the old colony. Well, one of the things, I went there when I was probably the first time, maybe like 8 years old. And one of my memories was how interesting it was that they would float the ice down and put the ice in kind of like underground and cover it with sawdust and shavings, and with towel, and then shavings to keep that ice cool in the summertime so people could have cool drinks. So it's funny you should mention that. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. Yeah, thinking about skipping levels, that's very important. I don't think people think about that. They would think about how they could keep that ice cooler and not necessarily how they could create their own. What's the third tip?
Hiring the right people. It's key. I mean, I remember the first employee that we hired, it was probably not the right one, but the person said yes. And we were like, you're hired. And we couldn't believe it. We were like, we're the cool kids. Someone actually wants to work for us. But that person wasn't the right fit or in the right position. And so then what we found is that person, if we put them in a hiring position, they'd hire another person right below them. They didn't want to hire someone better. And so then after a while, we actually started having a bunch of people that were like, what are they doing? Versus, we actually started hiring the right people. They would hire someone better than them. And they were always open to share kind of the information that was working for them versus, hiding and holding that information for job security.
So basically what that sounds like is you're creating an environment of success. So everyone is succeeding, people are working together. How do you know the right people to hire?
You know, you figure it out very quickly in the beginning. You know, one of the things that I've done for a long time is called kind of daily check-ins, where I ask them 3 questions. I say when they start with me, I say, I'm going to ask you one thing to do every day. And it's not just to figure out, you know, to be kind of spying on you, but it's what did you do yesterday that hit impact? What are you doing today? What's your plan? And then did you have any problems with that? And then every day they should be sending that to me. And then so you're identifying problems really, really quick. And you do that through the whole organization from the ground up. So literally within a day, you're notified of any problems out there or what everyone's doing versus a week or 2 weeks going by. And then you go, oh no, our project that's launching on the 23rd is not going to go through.
Wow, that's great. That's really great. Well, we have to wrap it up. Thank you so much for your time. You've given us so much great information, Jason. I really appreciate it. I think everybody should run and get that. Well, they don't have to run. All they have to do is do it with their phone. Get that app and start checking out what it is that they're eating and how they're feeling. I think that's fabulous. So I'm going to wrap it up now. Thanks so much, and thank you for tuning in to Focus Forward.
Week's tips from the net, and today I want to talk very briefly about landing pages. Now, landing pages are a web page, pretty much like a lot of other web pages, but they are specifically meant to capture leads and also make sales. Now, you can, well, the difference really between that and a normal web page is that when you land on a landing page, you have 2 options. You either become a lead or purchase, make a purchase, or you leave. Really, that's all that these pages do. So there are lots of different formats and layouts of landing pages, but typically a lot of them are a mixture of text and video. Some of them have audio too, and definitely images as well. Now, the must-have elements of a landing page are as follows. Number 1, you want to have a powerful headline that draws people in. Number 2, you need to talk about the benefits. Number 3, you have to have a compelling offer, which is where the benefits tie into. Number 4, you want to have a call to action. So that call to action could be, hey, fill out my form and take advantage of this offer, or here's a phone number, give me a call right now. And number 5 is you must give the people a reason to act now. So the final advice that I have for you on landing pages is if you're doing any advertising, always use landing pages and also use them in marketing campaigns. So that's it for this week. I am Robert Dempsey, and I will see you for the next Tips from the Net.